Welcome to Grounds for Conversations. I'm Amber Noble. It's difficult to find common ground when we focus on things we disagree about. But if we take a step back, we realize that we all have things to learn. Grounds for Conversations is a podcast where we dive into a conversation about Scripture, looking at the story in its entirety. This is for the believer, the questioner, the invested, and the searching. I invite you to join the conversation. Also, at the end of this podcast, stick around for an extra shot, a conversation where we discuss everything about nothing. Welcome to Grounds for Conversations. My name is Amber Noble again. It's been a minute, and my friend Amy Raggio, you're back.
I'm back.
It's been a minute because everybody kind of took a break for Christmas. How was your Christmas?
Christmas was wonderful.
New Year's?
New Year's was
It
fabulous.
happened.
We're here.
We're in
2024.
2024.
Even if my checkbook doesn't reflect it. It's 2024.
Yeah, same. Okay, so today I want to talk a little bit about this, and this might be the first time we've done a podcast where we've discussed none of it beforehand.
Right.
So we're going to kind of go rogue.
We are.
Okay.
We live it though.
Yes, I did tell you the topic.
Yes.
And being honest, I'm super excited and also super nervous because I feel like this is a topic that both men and women, adults, young adults, and high school students, they struggle. And let's be honest, probably even like kindergartners, like this topic
it's multi-generational.
for sure.
Right.
And what the topic is just the idea of godly friendship, right?
Mm-hmm.
What is good friendship, godly friendship, healthy friendship?
Mm-hmm.
When having been in student and young adult ministry for 25 years, it's interesting that when I meet somebody that struggles in friendship, I meet their parents and I'm like, oh, because it's generational.
This is true.
It's like you got this hot mess express of a kid, and then you meet mom and you're like, oh, there it is. There it is. Okay.
Not my kids.
Well, I know people are probably like, yes, Amber, we see your children. No, just kidding. So, healthy, like that's such a term, healthy friendship. Like when you think about that, what are your thoughts? Like I want to unpack this a little bit. Did I just say unpack? I kind of hate that phrase. We'll talk about that later.
We'll circle back around.
Yeah. I want to talk about that.
Yeah.
I want to look at what church culture, what society tells us healthy friendship is. What does the Bible say? But then, man, where do we land?
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, have you ever had, and if this is triggering, I'm sorry. Have you ever had people tell you this person's going to be your friend? And you're like, no. You're not prepared for that question.
Sometimes I can't really think of a specific situation, but I know this has happened in my life where I've had someone say, oh, you're going to love her. Like when I'm around her, I just think how much you're going to love her. And then when I meet that person, I'm like, why did they think that about me? You know?
Right. Well, first of all, don't say that. Don't tell people this, because number one, you're setting that person up that you're telling to have this expectation,
right.
And you're putting a lot of pressure on the person that you're introducing them to.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's like, what if I'm not on? What if I'm not the greatest in the world in that moment? Right. Like she's the funniest person ever. And you're just like, you know?
Yeah.
So, okay. So I want to talk about healthy friendships. I know that as I was personally pondering this has been going into 2024 and with our One Law Voice Bible studies, we've targeted this. We've talked about this, that for me, this is, I'm not a big New Year's resolution fan.
Okay.
Maybe because I just am not great at them. All right.
Right.
unless I give myself like this year, I'm going to breathe. It's like, yeah,
Okay.
you did that. You
Yeah.
did so good, But so I wouldn't call this a New Year's resolution, but it was definitely as I move forward and what God's asking me to do, as we move forward as a family and as ministry, it all kind of comes back to this idea that I want to be comfortable in saying no more, because it frees me up to say yes more.
Right.
And I really get angry when people tell me, "Oh, well, you're doing too much." Well, first of all, the capacity in which I operate may not be the capacity in which you operate.
Mm-hmm.
That's okay. Don't judge the capacity in which I operate based off of the capacity in which you operate. And I'll do the same. I'm not going to, if I operate at this capacity and you operate at this capacity, it's just as wrong for you to say I'm doing too much as it is for me to say you're not doing enough. Right. And so I know what I'm capable of doing. I've been doing what I've been doing for a long, long time.
Right.
It's not like this is my first rodeo. Right.
Mm-hmm.
However, what I do know about myself is I'm going to get my job done. I'm going to do what I said I was going to do. But when it comes to my personal boundaries and personal space, I find myself, and I don't want to call it a savior complex, but I think that it gets there. I see things not being taken care of. Okay. And I'm like, if somebody else isn't taking care of it, I guess I got to take care of it. And whenever did God say, "Hey, I need you to take on the world"? Right.
Right.
And so then I find myself like I didn't eat all day. So it's 10:30 at night and I'm not making healthy choices at that point. Right.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sleeping. My blood pressure's high, all this stuff. And so I've been evaluating this. And then in that process of evaluating, where do I need to say no? It really brought me to this topic of friendship. Like I've never been the lady that lunches. I mean, kudos to the ladies that do that they're like,
kudos to lunch.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
I eat lunch, but I've never been, it's like I'm a professional, let's go meet and have lunch.
Sure.
Because I've got stuff to do.
Mm-hmm.
However, I do find that there are, and I hope I don't say this wrong. There are relationships in my life, friendships that are so, so dear to me that I will drop anything and everything for those people in that moment.
Mm-hmm.
There are other people that will call and say, "Can you do something?" And I'll find a place to put them in.
Mm-hmm.
And then there are other people that I don't have anything against.
Mm-hmm.
But when they say, "Can we have coffee? Can we do this?" I feel the need to say yes. And I don't know why. And so in this process of this last month,
Okay.
I've really been evaluating, why do I feel the need to say yes to everybody? Why do I feel the need? And so coming back to that, I want to make sure everything I'm doing is preparing me and pointing me to the purpose God has for my life. That means there are things I'm going to have to say no to.
Right.
That also means there are people I'm going to have to say no to.
Mm-hmm.
And that is okay. That doesn't mean everything has to be heaven or hell.
Mm-hmm.
But like, you're one of my best friends in the whole wide world. And sometimes maybe us going and doing something silly is good for my soul. That
Right.
doesn't mean it's not pushing me towards where I'm supposed to go.
Absolutely.
Okay. But okay. So, and I know that this sounds like I'm on this crazy like wheel, but I'm trying to get my thought out here. I came to this place, I feel like, with the Lord, where I was just like, God, if this is not obviously, if it was somebody in it, it's an emergency, somebody's in need, that's ministry, that's different. I'm talking about just having coffee for the sake of having coffee.
Mm-hmm.
If this person isn't pushing me towards my purpose,
Mm-hmm.
number one, I need clarity. Number two, I want to make sure that I'm hearing from you, and it's okay to be like,
Mm-hmm.
no,
Well,
I can't.
It comes down to, if you are going to be able to pour out, then you must also pour in.
Right.
And in order for you to do ministry on all 8, you've got to fuel. And sometimes that's what those moments are.
Sure. Okay, so that whole thing started this process.
Mm-hmm.
So I've always been on staff for a church.
Mm-hmm.
And this previous church that we were on staff at, great church, fantastic people.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the best people you will ever meet in your life. Salt of the earth,
Mm-hmm.
like good people.
Sure.
It was really kind of caught me off guard because I stepped down.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. We transitioned well. We fought hard to handle it the very best we could.
You did.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. I was witness to that.
And our daughter is on staff at that church
Sure.
still. So she's still on staff.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Christmas Eve, we decided, because this was the first Christmas Eve in the history of our life, that we weren't on staff at
Right.
a church. It's like, what do we do?
Mm-hmm.
So it was really cool because both of our kids are on staff at different churches.
Mm-hmm.
So we went to the Christmas Eve services with her. And then we went to Christmas Eve service with him that night. It was
Mhm.
really kind of cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
But there was a person
Mm-hmm.
that was there at the church that I was previously on staff at. And it doesn't matter if this person was on staff or not. It doesn't matter. They're a part of the church.
Mhm.
And this person used to just be like, hey, and it was just excited when we would see each other and whatever. And I know that I struggle thinking everybody's my best friend. I know that. I'm like, they're all my friends.
I think we all do.
Well, I walked in and I saw this person and the look on their face of like, what are you doing here?
Mm-hmm.
And I was just like, well, first of all, this has been our church for
Mm-hmm.
6+ years now. I wanted to see everybody. I wanted to, there are
Mhm.
families there. I would do anything for their kids. Because their Christmas Eve services kids are there too. So you got kids and teens and I'm going to get to
Sure.
see everybody.
Yeah.
So I wasn't there to say, this used to be my job
Yeah.
or this used to be my place of work or this used to be, I was there as
Sure.
Hayden's mom, just a Christian attending
Just an
service,
attendee, yeah.
just attending. And this particular person was so rude. And I thought, that is really bizarre.
Mm-hmm.
What was that about? And so then, as an overthinker, I began to go, why?
Right.
And I had the pastor of the church still asks me sometimes to come and preach on weekends.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, so it made me start thinking. And I went back to a couple weeks before, actually the weekend before I had preached. And that same person was just like kind of short with me, not blatantly rude, but
Right.
kind of some underlying, And so it was this thing of going, and it was this person my best friend? Of course not, but it's realizing in our life that sometimes the people that we think are our friends, they are our friends when it benefits them.
Mm-hmm.
And when it stops benefiting them, they stop being our friend. Now, did I lose sleep over this? No. But it opened up a great conversation between me and God.
Mm-hmm.
And the conversation I want to have with you today. So
Okay.
there's this opening of where God's like, okay, setting boundaries, Amber, to who's for you and who's for what you're for,
Mm-hmm.
or who's for what you bring to the table.
Right.
It really kind of just took me back a
Mhm.
little bit, but I'm not mad about it.
Right.
But I have this perspective of, cool.
Yeah.
Obviously for this particular person, and maybe there's insecurity there. Maybe they're like, why are you here? Like, and look, dude,
Mm-hmm.
if I wanted, like, we had been friends for a long time. If I wanted a place at the table, I would have never left the table to begin with, but God
Mhm.
called me somewhere different. So this is not like, my presence is not a threat. And if you're
Right.
choosing to feel threatened, that's between you and God, like work that out. But
But whenever there is a boundary drawn, inevitably there is going to be someone or something outside of the boundary that feels like it should be inside.
Right.
But
Right.
it's not.
Okay. So I know that was a long kind of opening of why we're talking about this today.
I know. I've got Phil's timer.
Friendship, healthy friendship.
Mhm.
Healthy means it's two-sided, right? It's not just healthy on one side.
It means there's a certain, for me, healthy means there's some sort of homeostasis there.
Ooh, good word.
There's balance.
Okay.
So
Okay, let's talk about that for a minute. Because I want to look at some of what the word says about healthy friendships. But everything I just word vomited to you, like you're my therapist.
Well, I want to stop you right there because this has got me thinking. Like, healthy doesn't necessarily mean it's perfectly aligned always. Think of the ocean. The tide comes in and it goes out. If the tide always stayed in, the ocean would be unhealthy.
Right. Well, what you're saying is there's balance.
There's balance
for
right.
sure. But I still think that because there's in any friendship, just like in any relationship, just like in marriage, there are times that I'll use Phil and I for an example. Like, we're supposed to be 100-100, not 50-50, 100-100. There are days that I can't give 100, that I'm rolling in at like 60. And I'm like, I've learned to be like, dude, this is all I got.
But you know what? Sometimes healthy relationships look like 90-10.
Sure. That's my point.
Right.
Is there's times where he's just like, I'll take it from here.
Right.
And vice versa.
Well, those are the moments when he's cutting holes in roofs and letting you down.
Right.
You know, it's
he's going to need more than just himself to lower me.
I'm going to need you to roll the roof back. This is the roof.
Can you install a slide
at Minute Maid?
Right.
Please keep your seats. We're opening the roof.
Here she comes.
No, that's me.
So that being said, for sure, friendship is balance. But before we dive into this anymore, but I wanted to give the background of where this is coming from.
Right.
It wasn't that one particular person. That situation was a tool God used to help me also look back at these boundaries of going, who are you making? Not everybody deserves space at a table, but not necessarily at your table. And everybody has a place in the kingdom of God, but not everyone is your responsibility. And reevaluating how I see and invest in friendships.
Well, using your table analogy, I am a big fan of something they call a long table dinner. And so you may have seen this called Outstanding in the Field, or sometimes I believe they actually do them at A&M, where they'll make these really long tables. And so it's one really long table. And instead of seating 300 people at 30 tables for 10, they will just put a bunch of tables end to end out through a giant field, and 300 people will sit at this long table and they'll share a meal together. And everybody's at the table, but if you're seat, 9 and 10 down here, you're not having a conversation with somebody who's at seat 278.
Right.
But you're at the table.
You're at the table.
Right.
You're eating the same thing.
Right.
One seat's not better than the other. They just are different places.
You're fellowshipping, but indirectly.
Okay. And so that,
right.
I think we have to, that is a fantastic point.
Mm-hmm.
That just because we're not seated next to each other doesn't mean that I devalue
correct
who you are, what you bring to the table, what you have to offer.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just looking at, I'm not young.
Right.
Anymore. I'm not as young as I used to be. Let me say it that way. I know that I've still got life to live, and I want to make sure that the life I live is so purposed that I'm not wasting any more time.
But see, I think this is where that 90-10 analogy of friendship comes in. And I'm going to use, this example has happened to me twice recently. And it's also happened in reverse where I was in the flipped version of this. For instance, the One Loud Voice Gala, you were on that night. You are one of the very best friends I have, and I sat at your table, but you rarely, if ever, sat down at the table. But I was not offended that you were up moving about the room doing your thing.
Right.
We were still friends, and I
Right.
was still at the table.
Well, you understood I had a responsibility in
Absolutely. And then, just a few months ago, another one of my very best friends, her child got married, and she's hosting a reception. And later on, she sent a text. I'm so sorry I didn't get to spend as much time with you at the reception as I had wanted to. Girl, please.
Right.
You are doing your thing. And it was my privilege as your friend to be a party to that.
Right.
And I sat at my table and I ate my dinner and I danced, on the dance floor. And I did not need her to give me all her attention, even though she's one of my very best friends. You do you. And I've had that flip scenario where I've been hosting the table and I wasn't able to spend one-on-one time with each of the people that I love and valued who were
Right.
seated at that table, but it doesn't devalue the friendship.
Okay, but what you said, they were one of your best friends, but because of your response, it shows you're one of theirs.
Right.
I think the hard part is when we have to be on in different scenarios of life.
Right.
The people that put pressure on us to cater to their needs in the middle of something like that. I don't have time for that.
But I think a real friend says, I'm your friend, and so therefore I'll not step into the beam of your spotlight.
That's, and it not even just spotlight, in the way of your job, in the way of
Sure.
your whatever. And I think that's the point, is it's just like we've got to learn to differentiate the people we're ministering to and the people we're doing life with.
Right.
Now, sometimes they're the same.
Sometimes they are.
But they're also, just because a person is in need and you're spending time with them does not put them into the friend bucket. And if you have people in the friend bucket that got there because of a situation like that, but they're not growing along with you, it's okay to reevaluate some things.
But I also,
is that bad to say?
No, it's not. It's not bad to say. But I think what we can say is, you may not be my physical in-person priority at this morning, but you are still, your friendship is a priority in my life nonetheless.
Absolutely.
So I believe we can have reordered emotional or spiritual, mental priorities, and sometimes our physical priority may look disordered. But it's for instance, when you're in a godly Christian marriage and you have a baby, you don't deprioritize your husband in your heart, but you might have to deprioritize him physically to tend to the needs of an infant.
Right.
It's priorities. We can have different categories,
Right.
and which our priorities are.
Okay.
So.
I agree with that. But I also think that there are seasons.
Sure. Absolutely.
And there are times that the page is turning. Who was on the last chapter may not jump into the next. That doesn't mean that season of life was not precious. But not everybody in your 2023 is meant to be front and center in your 2024.
But that doesn't mean that 2023's friends won't roll back around one day, maybe.
Exactly. I'm
Sure.
not saying you just discard people.
No.
That's a whole nother podcast. Like, we don't throw people are. That's the heart of God.
But can you imagine what would happen if all of our friendships rotated in the same season? We would go through desolate winters with no friends, and that would not work.
No, you're right. Well, and we were talking about, this was a topic you and I did talk about, was that what season of life did you, hold on, I'm going to hold that thought. What defines a good friend? I think that has to be clarified before we dive into, and I know friendships with men and friendships with women are totally different. I'm going to go ahead and say this, and this might be an unpopular opinion. Sorry. If you are married,
Mm-hmm.
if you're a woman married to a man, you have no business being best friends with another man. If you are a man married to a woman, you have no business
Unless
being
he's your
best
brother.
friends. Yeah, unless it's family. Exactly.
Sure.
But like and you'd say, well, we've always been good friends. Okay, I understand that. I had some best friends growing up that were guys that our friendship, the love is there. It's changed.
Right.
It's shifted. Phil was brought into the friendship. We're not going to sit and talk on the phone all day long. And, and you can say, well, I disagree with that. Well, let's talk. Better
Sure.
yet, go sit and talk to your pastor or even ask your spouse, how do you feel about the fact that I've got this very precious relationship with somebody of the opposite sex? Like, it's not healthy. I'm going to say that. I'm going to say it. There it is.
I will say this. It makes your layer, I believe it makes your insulatory layer of your soul thin.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Let's just put it that way.
And I encourage you, wherever you're at, in whatever season you're in, if you are in a serious relationship or you are married, the friendships that you should have should be same sex.
Well, and I will
should.
say this. It has been a tendency in my life to have surface relationships, acquaintances, make small talk, if you will, with men. It's been easier for me to have those types of friendships with men than with women. And I think it's because while I do have a sister whom I love very much, I had brothers and I had lots of male cousins around, and I grew up in a neighborhood where there were hardly any little girls. And so my experience was always with men.
Right.
I don't feel threatened by men. I'm extremely intimidated by other women, or at least I have been. And that God has changed that in my life as I've gotten older. And so I find sometimes that I relate easier to men. And I have had to make a real effort to put myself out there and be vulnerable around other women.
Yeah.
But
the key is you've made the effort.
I don't have deep soul-bearing relationships with men that aren't my husband.
Right.
I just don't.
Well, but do you, that was just a side note. I think we need to recognize that for what it is. But what are the definition of friendship for you?
Well, I've thought a lot about this in my life because I've never been a person who had lots of what I consider real close friends. I have more now than I've ever had, but it's because I believe that society banties about the word friend far too easily. I think friend is a weighty word, and that's not to say I don't use it flippantly as people do, but in the days of social media and things like that, we tend to call people friend because it sounds less pretentious than calling someone an acquaintance, when, let's be honest, that's what most people are in our lives.
Right.
I think friend is a big, heavy word, and it carries a heavy spiritual implication. And so I would like to be more careful about whom I call friend. Because if you laid out what is the meaning or the definition of a real friend, you would find that most of the people that you have called friend maybe weren't a friend, and you weren't also a friend to them.
Right.
Am I sounding like a heartless, cold curmudgeon at this point? Because I feel like I am, but I don't. Big word. No, and we've talked about that before. That's kind of my default. To be surly, and I have to work really hard not to be. But to me, a friend is a person whom I can trust my heart to.
Okay.
And that I can be my real self to, but furthermore, a friend whom I can be Christ-like toward, and can be Christ-like toward me in reverse.
Right.
And when I say Christ-like, I don't mean all accepting and all, those sorts of things. I'm saying a person who sees my vulnerability, my humanity, and loves me in spite of it, but doesn't leave me in the hole I've dug for myself.
Right.
That a real iron sharpens iron.
Right.
Friend. And if you've ever wondered how irons sharpen irons, well, it grinds away. it smooths out rough edges.
Right.
It doesn't look
It's not comfortable.
No, it doesn't look at my broken and dull and pockmarked edge and say, "Oh, aren't you cute there? Look at all those blemishes."
Right.
No, it smooths and it grinds and it sharpens and I like friends who don't let me walk around with spinach in my teeth. The analogy.
Okay.
And I
will
that,
tell somebody I've never seen before if they've got something hanging out of their nose or their teeth, because I would want that done for me. I will pull you aside. Excuse me, a lovely jacket. Come here. You have a whole turnip green hanging out right there.
That's because you are a better person than most. But would you also just look at a random person and go, that's sinful behavior and it's leading you in a path that's not benefiting you?
No, but I also see those as two different things.
Right.
Because
well, I meant that as an analogy.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. I'm like, because there are people that do. But the relational side is super important to be able to speak truth into another person's life. The way you said that so eloquently, I feel like where we struggle is so often as friends
Mm-hmm.
when a person is flawed and fractured in the ditch in which they've dug.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's uncomfortable for them to hear truth. It's also uncomfortable to speak that truth sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
We tend to just feed the wallowing. We feed
Right.
the pig wallowing in the mud. Oh, I know. Like, have you ever watched that? What is it? My 600-pound life, or whatever, however many pounds it is. I won't watch it because it grosses me out.
There are cameras here, so I don't want to look into them when I say this. I'm addicted to that show.
Stop it.
Girl.
Put your Bible down. Put your Bible.
Here's
Okay.
what I want to know. How did you get there?
That's what I'm about to tell you. They got there because the person that's laying in bed at 1,000 pounds, they bring him in a salad and they're like, I don't want a salad. I want 16 cheeseburgers. The person who's laying in the bed, bigger and all outside, is just as guilty as the person who drove to McDonald's.
I'm going to stop you right here. The person that continues to bring it to them is not their friend.
That's my point. My point is, so often we think that the people who are feeding the brokenness in our life,
Oh, gosh.
that they're they just make me feel good because I just wanted to talk about my feelings. Well, stop. You've talked about it for 5 years. We get it. And we get that you're hurt and we get that this is uncomfortable. The people who are saying, hey, I will buy you anything you want to eat, but it's got to fall within here. Or you know what? Instead, why don't you get up, shower, and let's go somewhere together?
Right.
How
about this? I'm going to feed you. I'm going to serve you the salad that you don't want, but I'm going to do you one more and I'll sit here and spoon feed it to you if I have to.
Right. And
Yes.
I will eat it with you.
Sure.
Okay. So that's just is it 600 pound, 500 pound? What is it?
You know what?
X number pound life. That is my point. My point is we need friends. Our friends, our biblical, godly friends, are friends that see the good in us that we don't see, but they see the calling on us that we don't yet walk in. And they are not willing to leave us in the places that we have gotten ourselves.
They are those in the trenches.
Yes.
type
But they're
friend.
not in there putting lipstick on a pig.
No.
They're like, we're going to deal with this.
Yeah.
I'm going to show up.
Mm-hmm.
It's the friends that not just I don't like the phrase ride or die, but they are committed to being with you in the good, bad, and ugly.
Sure.
And they're not afraid to let you feel. They actually tell you, sit in that for a minute and feel that.
Mm-hmm.
But then they're like, okay,
Mm-hmm.
how are we going to get out of this?
Mm-hmm. And sometimes they climb down in there with you and push you up.
Yes,
Mhm.
absolutely. But when you're hurting, they hurt for you, they hurt with you, but they also have the backbone that you feel like in that moment you've lost.
Mm-hmm.
I just think that we, especially as adults, for the adults listening to this, young adults listening to this too, it's time to stop settling for friends that climb into the ditch and acknowledge that we're in the ditch and then just help us stay in the ditch.
Well,
It's time that we start pushing each other to be better
right.
in whatever area.
I want to tell you about a friend one time who hurt me to help me.
Y'all getting a fist fight?
No.
Was it a match fight?
No, I had done something to my foot. It hurt so bad I could not walk on it. And it was like permanently flexed out like that. Like my toe was like hyper pointed and so that my foot arched up. And it just like the muscle was stuck like that. And it hurt so bad. And go to the doctor, and the doctor walks in. He says what it is. And he says that they're going to do this injection. And it's going to have to go into the arch of my foot.
No, ma'am.
And
I would have said, okay, I need you to sedate me first.
no.
Because I would have donkey kicked that doctor when he came to me with that needle.
I mean, this was like one of those Good Samaritan moments.
How old were you? How long ago was this?
20 years.
Okay.
I don't know. I was young. I'm sitting, they put me in a chair that reclined somehow. I don't remember. And they brought in this male nurse.
No, ma'am.
Who straddled my leg.
No, ma'am.
And held me with all his might. And this doctor looked at me, and I'm going to say an ugly word in this podcast, but I've got to quote this. I've got to say it word for word as a quote for you to understand the impact of this friend in that moment. And he was my friend.
The doctor was your friend?
In that moment, he was.
Oh.
Because I was in pain, and nobody that I loved or knew could help me out of it. And so in that moment,
I'm paint this picture. You got a male nurse,
yes,
straddling
your leg. A large
leg.
male nurse straddling my leg.
Holding your leg.
Holding
your foot.
With his back to me, holding my leg up between his legs.
Okay.
Holding me with two hands. And this doctor looks around him, and he says to me, and y'all forgive me, this is going to hurt like hell. And it did.
So he told you.
And I walked out. He gave me a shot. And it hurt. But I was able to walk out, and my foot relaxed. And I love that man to this day, never seen him again. He was my friend in that moment, and he hurt me to help me. And I say all that to say, somewhere in the Bible, and I'm so sorry, I keep looking at that camera, but I'm so sorry, I'm really bad at recalling scripture. It says something about the wounds of a friend are better than the wounds of an enemy. And sometimes I want a person that I love and I trust, who knows me at the core of my being and loves me, to walk into my vulnerability and into my sin and smack me in the back of the head.
Right.
And so that I can walk out of my predicament.
Proverbs 27:6.
Say it, read it for me.
Faithful are the wounds of a friend. Hold on. Let me look at that. I've got it. It only has the first part of it. You're like, Amber, you didn't even get it right.
Give me some context.
Wounds from a friend can be trusted, but an enemy multiplies kisses.
This is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
This is what I'm saying. I love my friends to tell me nice things and compliment me. I do.
Yeah, feed me and tell me I'm pretty.
But do you know who a friend that wounds me for my benefit,
right,
and out of a place of love, will have my undying devotion?
Okay, but there it is, out of a place of love. Sometimes we think, me too, sometimes we think that, well, it's truth, so I'm just going to say it, and sometimes the truth hurts. Whoa. You can serve that truth up with some honey. It does not have to be abrasive. It's going to hurt sometimes. But I think that part of what hurts is the delivery.
Mm-hmm.
Part of what hurts is the way things are said.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Right.
Okay. So give me some other attributes of friendship for you before we dive into how this plays out.
Another friend to me meets me in my sin, kicks me in my tail, gets me out. But you know what else they do? They let me have my mountaintop moments too. They rejoice with me. they come
They
up,
are your hype people.
they come up and
Yes.
they celebrate me, and they do it without making it about them.
Yeah.
And that's huge.
Yeah.
It's huge. And they're everywhere in between.
Right.
And I'm going to tell you something else I've noticed about a good friend. And these are how my very closest friends are. We get together and we are 100% for each other and with each other in that moment. And then if we don't get to talk for 3 or 4 days after
Yes.
that, they don't hold it against me.
Yeah.
They know that I'm a bit reclusive and that I need a little space. And they're okay with it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And
Or not everybody's reclusive, but sometimes people are busy.
yeah.
And it's not a rejection. I was telling a friend of mine this the other day that if we're friends and I don't hold anything back. If you
Sure.
you're going to know where I stand if you're in my life.
Mm-hmm.
And I hope I know where you stand. If we haven't talked in a few days and you call me and say, "Are you mad at me?" That throws me off because I'm like, why would you?
Right.
First of all, did I say something to make you think I was mad at you? And like, absolutely not. If I was mad at you, I would, if you know me well enough to know if I'm upset,
You would have said
I can't go
something.
to sleep. I'm going to be like, look, we got to
Right.
talk because I want to go to bed with a clear conscience. I don't want
Sure.
anybody mad. I want everybody. So I'm not carrying and harboring anything. And I'm going to do my very best to try
Mm-hmm.
and have a conversation. But I love that in 1 Thessalonians 5:11,
Mm-hmm.
it says, therefore, encourage one another and build each other up, just as, in fact, you are doing.
Right.
That
I'll get my other Bible out.
that's okay. Encourage, build each other up. That is those two things. Those are verbs.
Mm-hmm.
They take action. They take
Sure.
effort. I don't
Absolutely.
get to just roll into your event, to your party, and celebrate you.
Right.
And you don't get to just roll up to my party and celebrate me. I got there because of you.
Mm-hmm.
I got there because of the people God's put in my life. I mean, yes, my hard work, yes, whatever, but the people you surround yourself in the building process.
Mm-hmm.
The Lord has called us to encourage and build each other up. And sometimes that encouragement is, hey, you're doing too much.
Mm-hmm.
Calm down. Hey, you need to rest. Hey,
Mm-hmm.
this is hurting you. Hey, have you thought about this?
Mm-hmm.
Encouragement is not just hype words. Encouragement is stuff that builds you up, right?
Right. Absolutely.
What do you got?
I was just thinking about friendship as a form of love.
Right.
And 1 Corinthians 13, we all know that. The love chapter, whatever.
Right.
And to me, that's really what friendship is. We read these scriptures at weddings all the time. People use these in their weddings.
Uh-huh.
And do I think they apply to marriages? Absolutely, I
Sure.
do. But take the romanticism away
Right.
and tell me that's not the person you want in your life. And that's not the person you want to be.
Yeah.
And then read that. And that's 1 Corinthians 13, specifically 4-8. Read that and then go over here in John 15, and I've got it covered up, 15 and 13. And it says, there's no greater love than to lay down one's life for one's friends. You are my friends if you do what I command.
Right.
I no longer call you slaves because a master doesn't confide in his slaves. Now you are my friends, since I have told you everything that the Father told me. So some would say, oh, that's, but God's love is unconditional, blah, blah, blah. And that says, if you keep my commands. But I want to say something to you. All the ways that we want a friend, God's already that friend.
Right.
He's that 1 Corinthians 13 friend. He's that to us.
Right.
And if we want to be a friend to him,
Mm-hmm.
then we obey his commandments. And then when we obey his commandments, those verses come naturally to us.
Right. It puts what puts us into the family. It puts us,
Sure.
and it's, there is a place, I think, in all of our hearts where we want people to love us for who we are.
Sure.
There is a place in all of our hearts where we want people to see our value even when we don't.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to ask something of you, and you might kill me after these cameras are turned off, but and the recording's turned off.
Well,
But
you've only got 13 minutes.
but I do what I want.
That's
No.
right.
How would you address the idea of friendship ending or resolving without you being ready for that to happen? Because we've all been there.
Mm.
And I know that we both have been there recently, just not that it's like there was this major falling out,
Mm-hmm.
but it just was done. And it's like, well, that you're an adult. That shouldn't happen. It happens.
It happens. I don't want to say that I've had a lot of friendships that have just ended abruptly. I have had some, and they are very hurtful.
Sure.
Kind
But aren't there some that don't end abruptly? They just,
of fade out.
yeah.
And then there are some times where we have friendships where we make an intentional and calculated shift in the way we approach that friendship. And it may not be a mutual decision to do so.
Right.
There's a right way and a wrong way to go about it. And I can't say that I've always gone about things the right way. You were just saying we all want somebody to love us just as we are and right where we are. And I'm here to say that there's only one who can do that. I was thinking as I was driving over to your house today, in the Bible, it says to have friends, you got to show yourself friendly.
Right.
And I was thinking about like when you're a child or a young person and you're struggling to make friends, and you probably got some advice from your mom or from some other trusted adult in your life that went something along the lines of just be yourself and people will like you. And would that it was always that way. And unfortunately, that's not the world that we live in. I can't just be myself and have people like me. I can't be myself and even me like me. There's only one who loves me unconditionally.
Right.
And I've come to a place at this stage in my life where I don't want to be myself. I want to be more like him.
Right.
If I'm more like myself, I don't like me. And so therefore people won't like me. I want to be more like Jesus.
Right.
And I want people in my
that's
life who call me into that.
Yeah. Well, that kind of goes back full circle to what I was saying in the beginning, was that I'm done wasting my time with people who are not pushing me to be everything God's called me to be.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't mean people are a waste.
But
That doesn't mean that everybody didn't have value, but not everybody's meant to be in your inner
Right.
circle. Right.
But I want to put words in your mouth because I know you.
Yeah.
Yes, I don't want to invest my time on people who aren't calling me into a higher plane.
That's what, yes, for sure.
But I want as a friend, want those people also to join me on this journey of going to a higher plane.
That is 100% my heart.
Right.
That is 100%. Here's the part that makes me sad. And I think this is where I've gotten myself in trouble. I think that my whole life, I've wanted people to see and know how valued they are, right? And to just, you get to play. Like you go back to grade school. I think it was monumental. I think it formed character in people. But games like dodgeball, Red Rover, where you had two team captains and it was time for the pecking order.
Mm-hmm.
Who are you picking on your side? And of course, you pick your friends and the strong people. Nobody, when those last two people were there, I remember watching and seeing the hurt in their face.
Sure.
Nobody wanted second to last. It's like, oh, finally, I'm not the least. I'm not the last. What an awful feeling. What an awful feeling to be put on a team by default.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you're it. You got to play. But yet, and so we see stuff like that and we think, okay, I don't want in my life to not have friends. So I will settle for people who are not good for me. I will allow people to speak into my life who tear me down, who treat me awful, who devalue me.
Mm-hmm.
And we learn, I don't know if that comes from that place because we don't want to be last.
Right.
But I have this sign that was in my office for a long time, and it wasn't like a snarky, I didn't read it that way, as some snarky attitude. I love it. It says, I know what I bring to the table, so trust me when I say I'm okay if I eat alone. And I think that is a place to get.
Mm-hmm.
You can't be a friend to other people if you don't know your value and your worth and how special and awesome you are to God. If you don't know that He sees you as so much more than you are, if you can start understanding that, then you're not going to sell yourself short with other people.
Mm-hmm.
And you're gonna roll up. And if somebody's like, I'm willing to pay this, and you're like, I appreciate that, but I know my value.
Mm-hmm.
I'm okay sitting alone at the table
Mm-hmm.
until God brings the people who get me and
Mm-hmm.
value me. Now I'll see your value. Maybe before you may never see mine.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't mean that I don't love you and that
Right.
I'm not rooting for you, but it also means that maybe we're not going to be best friends.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And so that whole, I know what I bring to the table, so trust me when I say I eat alone, is such a freeing place to be, to go,
Mm-hmm.
I know God has a purpose for me.
Right.
This is not Amber Noble. I think we all have to get to this place. To know that you are valued and seen and loved by God, created for purpose. Anyone in your life that you call a friend that does not line up with that is not your friend. Anyone who is tearing down the very giftings and callings that God's given you is not your friend.
Mm-hmm.
Anyone who is demeaning you trying to get better is not your friend. Anyone who's feeding the 600-pound monster in our life instead of pushing us to be healthy and whole is not our friend.
Right.
Anyone who is encouraging us to go against commitments and covenants that we've made before God is not our friend.
No.
And that is my point. When you're around people that all they want to do is gossip and slander and tear other people down, those are not your friends.
No.
And you're like, well, look, they're talking to me. Well, honey, when you walk away, they're talking about you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Those are not your friends. People who talk about people and don't lift people up, those are not your friends.
No.
And we have got,
Because if they'll talk about others, they'll talk about you.
yes, ma'am. I think we as children of God, as believers, as independent, fully functioning human beings, have got to reevaluate what we're allowing in our life and putting the stamp friendship on. I do.
I 100% agree.
And that sounds harsh.
I think we've got to reclaim that word to express the power and connection that it truly brings.
Yes, because I think that we think, and I don't think that I'm articulating this well, but I think we think that as Christians, we're supposed to be kind and loving to everyone. We are.
Mm-hmm.
That is not the same thing
It's not
being
the same
their
as a friend.
It's
Mm-mm.
not. And it's okay. And if I'm going to be the bad guy, I'll be the bad guy. It's okay to say, I love that person. I want the best for that person. I pray that God opens up the windows of heaven and does everything that He wants and intends to do for that person. But that is not my person.
Mm-hmm.
That is not a friendship I'm going to take time to cultivate, because this is who I am. I know what I bring to the table.
Well, I think it's that those friends that we keep in our lives are the ones that fit that 3-cord strand analogy.
Yeah.
If we make that third strand the Holy Spirit, then when our lives are both frayed and not meeting in the middle,
Right.
we've got that connection. that tie that binds.
Yeah,
Until at the point that we come back together.
absolutely.
And what, what this line of our relationship looks like in the meantime, it's going to come and go, and it's going to undulate, and it's going to ebb and flow, and
Right.
and seasons come and seasons go, but we've got a tie that binds.
Yeah.
And that when we look to that, we look to that plumb line or whatever, we keep our relationship leveled and balanced through whatever comes. And when we're in those high points and when we're in our low valleys, we take hold of that true meaning of the word friend.
Right. I think that we are in a season of life that God is He's shaking some things up.
Sure.
Things are being exposed.
Mhm.
There's lines being, like you said, lines being drawn. I'm a firm believer that we're not meant to do life alone.
No.
God's called us to community. We're not meant to be alone in this life. And that being said, in order for us to fulfill the plans and purposes
Mhm.
of God in our life, we need to be surrounded by people.
Mhm.
I mean, I think everybody's prayer should be to find a Jonathan in their life. To
Right.
be, for every David, there's a Jonathan. And you know what? If you don't have that, be that.
Right.
Be the kind of friend, going back to scripture, he who has friends must show himself friendly.
Mhm.
It starts with you being what you need, but then recognizing your value and not settling.
Right. Well, our timer is at 2 minutes, but that brings something to my mind that I wanted to talk to you about. Should I introduce it now or
Yeah.
wait?
Well, I mean, we can make
Okay.
part 2 of this.
Sure. Well, let me just go ahead and mention it while we're here, just to get it in your mind. I in thinking about friendship and kind of studying about it a little bit, I came across an article, and I wish I could find it. I can't even quote the source, but I'm just going to say this, for posterity's sake. It's not my original thought. I
Right.
did read this somewhere, even though I can't remember. There was a newspaper article recently that came out that talked about loneliness. And they were saying they interviewed, like a whole bunch of millennials, whatever,
Uh-huh.
what was millennials, like 1986 through 2002, something
Yeah.
like that. And 8 out of 10 said that they were experiencing profound loneliness. And that made me so sad. But I want to say this. I don't think it's isolated to millennials. I think millennials are being bold and talking about it, or somebody was bold enough to ask them about it and they admitted it. But I would dare say, if you ask Gen X or the generation before, they would all tell you, I didn't have very many friends. Yes, I was lonely.
Mhm.
Hey, the latchkey kids, we were lonely.
Yeah.
We still are.
Don't you think, though, that some of that comes from us settling for people who are not? The whole old phrase, it's better to have 4 quarters than 100 pennies.
Oh my gosh, I heard that today.
You know, like that. Some of our loneliness is because we're filling our time with people who can't fill.
With pennies.
Yes.
I have a sweet friend named Penny, and it doesn't mean you.
But do you know what I'm
I'd
saying?
have 100 of you in a
And
minute.
I think that's the point I'm trying to make, is that God's got quarters for you out there. Like, they're there. And
Well, and every now and then you might run across a silver dollar.
right. Oh, that sounds like a t-shirt.
I know. Oh, that was very Dolly Parton, wasn't it?
It was such a Dolly Parton.
Hey,
stage.
we're at 0.
Well, let me finish this thought
Okay.
on, in your life and in my life and in our lives. God has so much planned. He has so
Mhm.
much He wants to do. He is the giver of good things. He's the fulfiller of dreams. His word is yes and amen. It will not return to Him void. He is the same yesterday, today, and forever. And He has created us in His image with purpose, on purpose. We cannot afford
Mm-hmm.
love everyone, minister to those in need, take care of the widows and the orphans, the hungry, the hurting. Be his hands and feet. But when it comes to the friendships in your life, do not settle for anyone who is not pushing you to be and embrace the very image and who you were created in.
That's right. Bind your soul to a true friend.
Yes.
Right.
And watch what God can do when you've got somebody.
Oh my gosh, we're both about to cry.
I know. Watch what God can do through the people in your life that have your back, that are oftentimes way smarter than you, and will push you into your destiny. Because guess what? When they're pushing you into their destiny, you're pushing them, and y'all are going into this thing together. Like, eternity is beautiful when we can lock arms with people who are going the same direction as us. And until you have those people in your life, sweetheart, sit confidently at your table.
That's right.
Knowing that there's a seat for everybody, but it may not be next to you. Wait until God brings those people and start looking for opportunity to be that example. And you know what? It teaches, going back to what I said jokingly earlier, it teaches the next generation.
Right.
Dysfunctional kids are raised by dysfunctional adults.
Right.
Who were raised by dysfunctional adults. And so, like it's a pattern. And so when we teach our children and we teach the next generation, and when we establish in ourselves, this is what's healthy, it trickles out and it's an example that is caught.
Absolutely.
I love this conversation.
Yep.
And I love you, and I'm glad you're my friend.
I love you too.
I want to take this time to go ahead and tell you that our friendship is over. I'm just kidding.
Sorry, Charlie, you don't get out that easy.
I'm locking the door. Okay. I love you. We love you guys. Thank you for joining us, and stick around for that extra shot. Bye.
I'm Amber Noble, and you have been listening to Grounds for Conversations. To ensure you don't miss our next podcast, make sure you subscribe, rate, and review. Don't forget to hang around for an extra shot.
Welcome back for an extra shot. I'm so excited, Amy. We just talked about friendship, and now we're gonna talk about some things that kind of
friendship.
What do you do to lose friends? No. I want to talk about I don't know what to call it, but maybe social media status triggers, things people say on social media that I'm like, I'm not responding. Or I'm going to mute you for a season because you just went in timeout in my book.
Things that will make me unfollow you. I'll still love you offline, but we can't be social media friends.
How funny if people are like, I've got 300 friends on Facebook. I got 5,000 friends on Facebook. And you're like, I'm the opposite. I have all these friends in life, but social media, I got 7. Well, I'm done.
Listen, I'm brutal. I'm going to tell you a story. I'm going to say this right now.
Okay, say it.
If you are my friend and I am your friend and you realize that I don't follow you on Instagram, it is because your Instagram does not entertain me.
Do you follow me?
Yes.
Okay.
I have decided that I will accept just about any friend request on Facebook because I don't get on Facebook as much. Now, I may unfollow you or hide you, but we'll be friends on Facebook. But I decided a long time ago, this was back when social media was kind of new in ministry and we were using it to promote church programs more. And so you used to get that weekly staff update. Hey, we need you to like and share, like hype up the Facebook post.
And everybody share this. That used to drive me crazy. And so, everybody share this exact post. It's like, no.
Me, Facebook became like a job. And then Instagram, churches weren't using that as much. This is way back in the day. And so Instagram became my entertainment.
Right.
And so if you did not entertain me on Instagram, I did not follow you. I didn't care if it hurt your feelings, but not you, just in general. So if we are friends and you discover that I don't follow you on Instagram, maybe check what you're posting.
Yeah.
That's all
We've
I'm gonna
been
say.
friends long enough that you used to have 2 Instagrams
I still have the other one, but I never post on it anymore.
because one was more for like silly.
Okay, people are a little more real on social media these days, and people are not scared to be like a little more raw or vulnerable. They're still fake as all get out. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
We all are, but people tend to be a little more raw. But there was a time where people highly curated and I don't mean like branding and stuff like that, but people started trying to brand their own personal life, and so they whitewashed, if you will. They sanitized their posting so that it was hyper curated and hyper positive. And then what I began to notice, this was when I had teenage daughters at home, they began to compare their reality to everybody else's highlight reel, and it was so dysfunctional. And so I started noticing this. At the time, I was mentoring young moms, and I began to notice like, hey, this is unhealthy. So I started a second Instagram account called For Real Amy, and I would on purpose start to snap pictures of like really real moments in my life where everything was going bad or things were just going normal, but it just deserved to be captioned. Like one of the posts one day, we thought it would be such a fun family outing to go down to the Galveston seawall and walk around. Well, at the time I had hair like halfway down my back, and I got a lot of it, and it's super curly. And when the wind hits some curly hair, it turns into a knot. And girl, we got back in the car and I looked like I had been prize fighting chickens. Like, and I was like, capture. Look, that seawall walk didn't go in my mind like it should. But
not just the wind, the salty wind.
Right.
It tears up some curl.
And so I tried like that.
You should have put it in a bonnet.
But no, I wouldn't do that. I mean, I might would do that. I don't know. Anyway, that whole Instagram account for Real Amy was just for me to be absolutely real. I like promised myself I would never filter anything, and like I would never apply filters, and whatever my first caption up out of my head and onto that post would be, that's the one I kept. And so like I don't post it anymore because I have to filter my life a little more. But anyway, and because I am dropping social media left and right, and I don't say that as a boast. I just don't care anymore. And so I barely look at the Instagram I have, much less do I want to maintain two.
So there's this guy that we are acquaintances. He's a pastor, and he will tag every brand that he's wearing, like, oh, Timex. They're about to pick you up, man. Nike is about to. Abercrombie is calling, Pastor.
Hey, guess
they
what?
need your help.
They don't follow you.
Dude. And it's just like, what? I mean, is he sharp dressed? Sure. But like, come on, man. Come on. I don't understand. That gets on my nerves. And to the point that, like, if I'm following somebody on social media and one of their tags pops up, if I notice that that's a trend for them, nothing against their ministry, nothing against them as a person, I just stop following. Because I'm just like, man, I don't care what pants you're wearing.
I can still love you in real life and be your friend in real life, but I don't got to follow your feed.
Now, listen, if you're like, hey, I got the best pants, or I got the best sweatshirt, or I got
I'm
the
here
best
for that.
shoes. Yes. And you tag it and you even put a link to your, that makes you my friend. But if you're like, oh, I just want to tell you what God's doing in my life, and it has nothing to do with what you're wearing, but you assume that I'm so impressed by the words coming out of your mouth and the clothes on your body that I'm like, oh, my spirit is filled. Now I got to buy what you're buying. Like, stop.
I know.
Stop.
I want to know Jesus more because of your Z Cavaricis.
Z Cavaricis. Girl, I used to rock some Z Cavaricis, but I
was too poor. We didn't have any of that.
Look, I'm telling you, that was the stuff. Z Cavarici and Jabot.
Oh, Jabot's, yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Stop it. I'll tag that all day long. Only if I found it at the thrift store.
Can you still buy Jabot?
Is it still a thing?
If it's not, it should. They should. If they're going to bring back stirrup pants, which they have, that's another conversation for another time. But
Listen, if you have an ugly dog named Gerbeau, I'll send you $100 right now. I'm going to need a photo.
What happened to Jabot jeans? The label still exists and was produced collections for its French flagship stores as recently as 2019, but has remained mostly quiet until it began teasing its relaunch on November 21st, 2023. Dude, we just discovered that hello, breaking news. We just discovered Jabot might do a relaunch. I'm not a brand
Hold
girl.
up.
I don't care. But guess what? If Jabot does a relaunch, your girl's showing up.
Look,
Hey,
I can't get us both in.
there we. This is exciting. Okay.
I'm going to tag us. I'm going to tag Gerbeau in this Instagram post.
Okay.
They're going to be like, we're not sending you brands.
We're not. You're not going to be brand ambassadors. Okay, so that gets on my nerves. The other thing, it's almost like I came here for this, right?
I woke up today to talk about this.
When people say they're asking questions like, we're going to Disney, we're taking our kids to Disney World, and we want to know the best things we should do at Epcot. Ready, go. The ready, go. You ask a question on
Ready,
Facebook.
go, unfollow.
Facts. You ask a question on social media and you leave it with a question mark. I'm your girl. I may not comment on your post because I don't want to be hit every time somebody else responds.
Mm-hmm.
I probably will send you a private DM or I'll text you if I have your number. I may be the only one that has the answer to the question you're asking. If you say ready, go,
They just missed out.
I will not respond to a ready, go.
You should start. What color is the flag during a car race when there's a hazard on the track?
Is it red?
I don't know, but you should start posting.
Do I
just
look like
one of
somebody
those.
who knows anything about race cars?
Well, I don't know about that either, but I just thought maybe.
They just
You
go in
never-
circles real fast.
You never know. You never know. Somebody might love. I know.
They probably do.
Okay. I agree. I hate that one.
Ready, go makes me angry.
Here's the one that gets me.
Okay.
I will look. If Mother Teresa posted this, I would unfollow her. I don't follow her. I don't think she has social
She's
media.
dead.
I mean, yeah, but that would be. But
If she has
anyway,
social media, like,
okay.
I've got more questions.
If anybody does this, vague booking, you know what I'm talking about?
Yes. It's called passive aggressive.
I can't do it. I cannot do it.
I think it's okay. I'm not gonna lie though. I think it's so funny when people vague book, but they don't realize that they're exposing how ridiculous they are. When they're like, I wish somebody's sister-in-law would blah, blah, blah. And you're like, oh,
I know.
make some popcorn.
Tea. Somebody spilled tea on the Facebook.
That kind of makes me giggle. That makes me giggle.
Mhm.
And when you see,
There's
there's a couple accounts I follow that they take screenshots of those things, and it's not people that you know, but it's like this love triangle. And I just think it's so sad. Like in they need counseling, they need help, they need Jesus,
Mhm.
but I giggle that they put this mess out there.
What I can't stand is somebody will say something like, thought I had real friends, but guess not. You guessed correctly. Ding, 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 ding.
Okay, well, anyway, can I get that lasagna recipe?
I know.
It's like, what? Yeah.
So do you know where I can buy Gerbeau? But
Okay, this is so bad, but there's this person that gets mad at their church all the time.
Church vague booking is the worst.
But they haven't stopped going there.
Uh-huh.
If I was the pastor of that church, I would just say,
We're not for you.
yeah, it's time. It's not us. It's you. It's time to go. But like this person's constantly, can anybody tell me of a healthy local church? Because I'm tired of churches not being healthy. Well, they're not healthy because you're there.
Well, honey,
probably.
I was going to say, you're the questionable mole on on the face of that church.
Right.
Yeah.
So they might need to get that one tested. What about the sorry, not sorry? When people say sorry, not sorry. They call people out real mean, And then they say, sorry, not sorry.
it is the absolute equal to, I'm not trying to be mean, but, or no offense, but no, you are trying to be mean and you are trying to be offensive. Just own it and be it. If you need to be mean, okay, you should never be mean. But don't
No.
say, I'm not trying to be mean.
But
Because if you were trying
a
to
big but.
not be mean, you would just shut up.
yes.
Okay, you are trying to be mean. You may not have intended to be mean, but you are.
Right. Okay. So
We say this as people, I'm kind of guilty of that one too.
I love,
But I don't like it about myself either.
I absolutely love to laugh at the pictures of that. You're like, okay, people post a picture of themselves,
Mm-hmm.
like doing something like they're in deep thought, or they're, they're standing in the kitchen. I'm like,
Spending alone time with God today. Well, no, sugar, because you brought us all here.
well, I want to know who took the picture. And I
Sure.
just picture like they're like
Pictures
little
of themselves crying.
little Timmy's, and it's obvious not a selfie. Little Timmy's in there watching Blue's Clues or whatever, and she's like, "Come in here and take a picture of mommy. Mommy looks really good today, and she wants to show the world how much she loves Jesus.
Oh, what about
Take a picture of mommy."
What about the ones where it's an incredibly flattering picture and Emily was playing with my camera, or I dropped my camera and it accidentally took this picture.
15
and
years
you're-
from now, Emily's in therapy. Like, my mom used to make me take pictures of her for hours. and
Mom, why are there no pictures of me?
they're just pictures of me.
Or, Mom, who's the cute little blonde girl? That's not me. Well, you were my Facebook daughter. Or, I dropped the camera in the car and I dropped the phone in the car and it accidentally took this picture, and they are eating French fries in the most seductive way known to man.
Yeah.
No. Sugar.
One French fry. They got one French fry. I don't know. They didn't have 3 or 4. They had one little, and they're just like,
I got more respect for the girl who posts that picture and goes, I had to do this 30 times to get a picture that I liked.
oh.
I would be like, yes, you did. Love it. And I will heart eyes it all day long.
Okay. So I think it's hysterical. Nobody likes to age. Nobody's like, hey, other than somebody who's overcome a life-threatening disease, right? Like nobody's like, I'm loving all my wrinkles. I'm loving this. Okay. And if they say that, it's because they're a liar.
Right.
I think it's so funny though. I know this lady
Okay.
that she's not an ugly person. And called out, hey. No, she's not an ugly person. She's a beautiful lady. She filters every picture. And then you see her in person, you're like, dear God, what happened? Are you okay? Can I pray with you? And it's just, she looks, if you hadn't seen her social media, she looks great. But when you see her social media, she looks haggard.
Right.
She looks, it's bad. Or what I love is when they post all these filtered pictures, or then their husband or their children post a picture of them at the same event. And you're like, girl,
Listen, here.
why has everybody in your family got makeup on in your pictures? And then even your husband has
This
makeup
is
and
why-
lashes. And then it comes to your daughter's picture. Y'all all look like
Years ago,
oatmeal.
I adopted a policy.
Okay.
Okay. I hate this is always in a group of women. They take a group picture and everybody goes, let me see it before you post it. My policy is this. I will hate it and cringe over it later. If you take a picture of me and you post it, it's you. If you take a picture of me, it is, and I say, yes, you can take a picture of me. Don't show it to me. It is now your picture that I can send it to.
I'm good for you, Amy. Good for you. But I have not adopted that policy.
But here's what I
hate
know.
having my picture taken.
I will not love any of them. But here's where this came out of. There are no pictures of my mom when I was younger. There are very few. And it's because she hated every picture of herself.
Mhm.
And now
And your mom is
But
so precious.
my mom is, and she's gorgeous. And I will take every picture of my mom now. And I don't care. I want to ask her permission. And she's like, don't throw that one away. And I'll be like, it's mine. Shut up. I want there to be pictures of me out there later on when I'm gone, because the people who love me will love it anyway.
Well, so there's no pictures of my mom and dad either. We don't have any. any family, any proof that we've ever had holidays
Listen,
together.
you don't have
There's
to
none.
post them, but let them take the picture.
Well, I don't
Ask
they
them not
don't.
to post them, but make them take a picture.
Well, here's the thing. The pictures of me that are out there are pictures from my children and former students that they've taken on Snapchat. And I've always got, girl, don't be taking a picture.
Yes, I am.
That I'm shoving food in my mouth or I'm asleep. And so at my funeral, when I die, people who did not know me well that are there to support my loved ones
Look,
are going to.
I'm taking a picture of you now,
Okay.
and I'm taking a picture of me doing something that we enjoy together. And now we have that.
We have it forever. But
Okay. But
because that's just
still,
like, why does
but
she
look.
look like that? It's pitiful. But I don't like my pictures made, but I'm not just saying, girl, post to whatever you want. I'm just like, hey, just don't post pictures of me. It's nobody's business.
Okay, but do post a picture of yourself unfiltered, because you can't be mad at other people who post filtered pictures and not post pictures of yourself.
I don't post I don't post pictures of myself, period. Here's the funny thing. I'm the weird one that the filters I like are like, they make me look like I am like a pirate or whatever. You know?
Okay.
My favorite filters are the ones that make me look like I'm like the mermaid.
I love those. and my dad doesn't have a smartphone or, do stuff like that. But he thinks those pictures are so funny. He doesn't care about the social media aspect of it. But I will keep Snapchat forever, and I will take those pictures with all the funny Snapchat filters so I can send them to my dad, because it just tickles him to no end. Especially the ones that make me look like a dog or something like that. He thinks it's so funny.
I like the one where like, there's this one that it makes me bald and gives me a beard. And I do this birthday song with it. And I'll send it to people. And they're just, I love when they don't know how to respond. They're just like, thank you. So, okay. The other things, we're about to get in trouble, but we're going to keep going.
Keep going.
What about, and I said this.
Oh, darn it. We started over.
We said this in the last one. Sorry, not sorry.
Oh.
No, not sorry, not sorry. We said this in the last one. Let's unpack this.
Oh, okay.
And I'm like, I don't want to unpack.
I don't want to unpack it either.
I just want to keep it packed. I want
to live out of the
attic.
suitcase.
Okay. What about the when the I got to be careful how I say this. I think that we should love our bodies. I think we should, in whatever season we're in. Sister, if you are married, you have children, and you are needing to post pictures where people say how hot you are, tell you how hot you are, go talk to somebody. Go get some help. Stop flashing your tatas on social media.
Everybody to cover your flesh. Even if you are really good looking. I don't care.
I just am like, why did you put that on there? Why? And this is not like, I have no place to judge, but I'm like, stop. And then don't talk about, how good and pleasant it is to be in the house of the Lord. Girl, what are you with that? Like, what are you doing? These verses, don't post your scantily dressed pictures with your little scripture verses.
Or your little child. We don't want to see it. You know what? Make me laugh.
Always make me laugh.
Cute videos of your kids. Cute pictures of your kids. I want to see it. Your animals. If you dress your animals
post
up in
your
clothes,
animals, because then I know whose house I can eat at and whose house I can't.
Post pictures of your animals. I'll still eat at your house as long as it's not crawling on your kitchen counter. I got to tell you about this video that I saw on social media the other day, and I think it's precious, and I'm going to show this to you later. It's this little dog, like some kind of poodle, and he's wearing like a sweater and a hair bow. And it's like a human sweater and a human hair bow. And he's standing on two legs in the corner. And the dog mom says, "Walter, did you misbehave?" And Walter just kind of, "No, Walter, are you going to misbehave today? Walter, you're going to behave today." And Walter kind of slumps down, the little dog. And she says, "Walter, did you already do something bad?" And I can't get enough of Walter in his little sweater with the duck on it. It's the cutest thing. And that his name is Walter.
Walter's a good dog name. I post, you know what? Also, like, great advice. I love when people have a recipe. Like, recently, there's this place that we go to. So, a couple friends of mine, we go out to in Round Top, and they have the best Brussels sprouts.
Mm-hmm.
And we have been trying to figure out the recipe. The lady finally told us.
Mm-hmm.
Girl, I shared the mess out of that on Facebook.
I still haven't made it yet, but I need to.
Well, they're fantastic. Fantastic.
Also, you know what I always want you to share?
Hmm.
Videos of you doing some mundane task, but you make it look really awesome. I love to watch those videos where they clean a rug in a sped up motion and fast forward.
Well, I want to know, how did your rug get like that?
Oh, I'm pretty sure they're dragging that behind their truck through the mud before they make the video.
I'm just like, what happened in your house?
You know what this makes me think of? And this one's kind of not as funny. I don't really want to see your social media post of you actively giving food to a homeless person and that sort of thing.
Stop it.
Do not
Stop
video and post videos or of other people at their worst to make yourself look better.
Come on.
Because you just
Amy
made
for
yourself
president.
look 77 shades of worse.
Yes.
Look.
Stop it.
There's an old song, don't let your left hand know what your right hand does. That's in the
You
Bible.
just made it new.
It is going viral later.
That's in the Bible.
Look, just help folks. We don't,
Yeah,
I
just be
mean,
good. Just be a good person.
you don't got to video that. Now, if you learned a lesson out of it, tell me about the lesson later. Do not take pictures of or video people at their worst to make
Right.
yourself look and feel better.
Right.
And you said, well, I'm encouraging other people to do good. No, you're not. You're encouraging other people
Yes.
to exploit the less fortunate.
Okay, so there's an account I've been following on Facebook. It's pointless, but it is so funny to me.
Okay.
It's people are posting pictures of old cookie cutters they've got, and they don't know what
I
it is.
follow this too. And then people draw what it could
People
be.
draw what it could be, and it's just like it's like an orangutan, and it's just like it's actually no, not that at all. It makes me laugh so hard, and so now I look forward to seeing the stupid
Well,
stuff.
now
people
I'm
put on
looking
there.
for cookie cutters at thrift stores all the time. But I just keep finding like regular cookie cutters.
I also would never do it because I don't think I'm that brave. There is an account where it's like people post a picture of themselves and they're like, roast me.
And I'm
Like
not
they're-
doing it.
I'm not doing it, but girl, I'm going to read the comments.
But you know,
I'm going to read the comments.
you've got to do that on a platform where like you're a public profile. Don't do that to your friends because they're going to go on there and just say good things about you. And if you're doing it to your friends, we know that's what you're asking for. Unless your friends are all
I'm talking about
teenagers.
yeah. Right. It's a public profile where you put out there for strangers to do it. Why are you doing that to
Yeah,
yourself?
don't do that.
Why? There's also this guy that takes people's pictures and will edit them to remove things. Well, there's this account where people say, "Can you remove the background?" and they change it to like weird.
That
it's
is
hysterical.
fun. I wish I was that talented. Okay,
Me too.
you want to know what my favorite thing to do is?
Yeah.
On the platform next door. You know what I'm talking about?
Uh-huh.
So it's in your neighborhood.
Uh-huh.
I like to go on there and advertise false businesses. And then I have a couple of friends in the neighborhood who will get on there and interact with me like as though it's a real business and they're really interested. Like every 4th of July, I offer to sell my patented cone of silence that you can put over your house to keep the firework noise away.
Do people ever take you up on it?
My friends get on there and then people are like, is this for real? And then also, if I see one of my friends in next door asking a real valid question, like for instance, one of my neighbors that's a friend in my neighborhood went on next door to ask, she got a new dog, like a rescue dog, and it's a little Yorkie and it needs some grooming. So does anybody know a groomer for Yorkies, blah, blah, blah. And she's telling about it. So I go on there and I respond like everybody else does not know, but my friends know. And I say, I'm a dog groomer, but I specialize in dog mohawks. So
Now, okay.
and
Here's what,
also I'll copy any hairstyles from the TV show Jersey Shore onto your dog. And then other people who don't know us think that's a real thing. And so
You're going to have somebody show up. Hey,
because I have
can you do Snooki on this?
because I have real friends in my neighborhood, one of my neighbors will come on there and comment, she does great work. And yeah. And also when she's done grooming your dog, ask her about her cone of silence. You know, it is like, and she does, you know, spray tans and back waxing. Like it's, I mean, that is how a community should function.
Absolutely. Okay, so our next door, there is a man. I don't know who he is. I kind of want to meet him, but I kind of want him to stay mysterious.
Okay.
Every time somebody posts that these dogs have gotten out, because dogs are not allowed to run free in this neighborhood.
Yeah, but dogs, you know.
He comments on what he thinks those dogs are feeling based off of their faces. He's like, well, that one looks disgruntled because blah, 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 blah. And I think he means it. Because he doesn't do it like, ha ha, listen. He's just like,
whoever you are, I love you.
It's so
Forever.
funny to me. It's so funny to me.
I'm stealing that idea in my next door.
Facebook, neighborhood Facebook groups are one of the most comical things I've ever seen in my life.
Oh,
I very seldom
Listen.
comment, but girl, I show up to read those comments.
listen, I will always comment, and it's rarely with any sincerity, except I sincerely want my neighbors to enjoy each other. It's not, I'm not doing
Okay.
it to be mean, but it's just funny to me.
So I know we're way out of time, but I have to tell you this
We
story.
started over again.
My during Hurricane Harvey,
Mm-hmm.
the way our street is, this part of the street, we set up kind of on a hill.
Mm-hmm.
2 blocks over, people were evacuating from the second story of their
Yeah.
house onto boats.
Right.
I mean, it was awful.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I need you to understand the damage that Harvey caused to people is horrendous.
We were having the exact same situation.
right. So we lost power for an hour and a half. God was good to us. We were able to make food. We were sending food out, like whatever
Right,
we could do.
right.
We were stuck because everything around us was
Same,
flooded. We couldn't
same.
leave.
That's how we were.
I on Facebook,
Right.
you cannot make this up.
Okay.
There's always those ladies. It's always ladies. It's never men. Men, there's very few, like the snarky men are still kind of funny. It's these women. This woman was just like, whoever is driving their speedboat down our street, they need to slow down. They're causing wakes
Mm-hmm.
into our house.
Mm-hmm.
I want you to read what you just said, ma'am. There is a speedboat going down your street. That means there's water where water's not supposed to be. And you're on Facebook worried about the wakes that are coming into your house. You need to get out of your house.
Right.
Why? Like, she's like, you need to slow down and go at. She was like policing their speed. Who people were not out there joyriding. They weren't like, look at this.
They're trying to
grab your
rescue
skis.
somebody.
And she's like, Facebook warrioring it. Like, whoever's. And I'm
Okay.
reading that and I'm like, Phil, listen to this. And I read it and he goes, is that real? And I said, Phil, this is in our neighborhood.
If the water's high enough that wake is coming into your house, is it making that much difference?
My thing is, she has to still be in the house to know this is happening. Will you yell out the window and tell them to come get you? Or like, what are you doing?
Or yell out the window and say, stop splashing into my house. I mean, like if it's, but you know what? Yeah, that it's funny. But on the other hand, I think when people are at their worst, they're at their worst.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. What about I know I said it was the last, but it's obviously not. What about the people who, I don't know if they do this in your neighborhood, they call out other people's kids. Whoever's son drives a 2022 red Toyota Tacoma.
Okay.
He was going 5 miles over the speed limit. And my son, who is very precious to me, and I love him very much, was thinking about going out the front door.
and he witnessed it, and now he's warped for life. Yeah.
Now
Okay.
he doesn't ever want to get his driver's license.
I'm going to come clean. I did something like this the other day. Okay. We live in Kingwood, and Kingwood Drive is a very busy street.
Right.
and it goes fast.
Okay.
I know y'all got like a 20 mile an hour.
Kingwood Drive does not run through the middle of your neighborhood.
No, but right in the heart, in town center, there's like the big HEB complex on one side of Kingwood Drive. And this is a 4-lane divided thoroughfare.
Right.
And Chick-fil-A is on the other side.
Right.
And there are lights and crosswalks all along through there where you would go to the light, you would wait for the light, and you would cross at the crosswalk, right?
Right.
And the median in the middle is thickly wooded. It's very dense. You almost can't
see on
through
either
it.
side.
No.
Right.
It's not. It's that weird dusky time of night where it's just dark enough where maybe I saw something, but it's not quite dark enough for your lights to be fully on.
Right.
So, and the street lights haven't come on, but it's dusky dark. And traffic is moving on about 45. Should it be moving at 45? Probably not, but it is. Okay. We're coming along through there, and the green light, the light ahead is green. And so we're not braking,
Uh-huh.
5 middle school age kids come darting out from the dense wooded median in front of Chick-fil-A at like 7 p.m. And we're going at least 40.
It's always middle school kids.
Well, come to find out,
They just think that they're invincible.
they were not at a street light. They were not at a crossing. And we think we slam on the brakes. Nobody gets hurt. It scares us to death. We slam on the brakes hard enough that everything, we had been shopping and there were shopping bags on the back seat. Everything falls off the seat. Other cars are slamming on the brakes. There's all this happening. These kids run across, they're laughing. It's like they didn't even look up. It's like, oh my God, this could have been really dangerous.
I would have gotten out of the car
And so-
and gone and let them know what I thought.
I just went to the local moms group and I was like, hey, where's your middle schooler? Because one of them almost is a greasy spot, in Kingwood Drive. And I did that out of, hey, I'm truly concerned. Like I wasn't being a Karen.
Right.
They didn't inconvenience. I wasn't voicing my concern about my inconvenience. I was voicing my concern about their safety.
right.
Well, like seriously, at least 8 people commented, I saw them too. This happened too on the other direction. Turns out these kids were playing chicken in the highway, basically.
Again, middle school kids, no brain.
It warranted a Facebook post. I'm sorry. I
Yeah.
Karened it up.
There you go. Do you
Sorry
ever
about
think
that.
about the fact that we use the word Karen and some people were given that name at birth and they didn't ask for it?
I just want to tell you that I know a girl named Karen. I've known her for many years, and she's truly she is the last person who would do anything, quote unquote, Karen.
What name would you give? What name should take the place of Karen?
Like, do I think we should change the nice people whose name's Karen to something else, or do you think we should
No.
change the term
What name is more fitting for the Karen?
jerk-ass?
Sure.
I don't know. I mean, Matilda. I don't know.
I always think of Christina.
Christina.
Every mom, little league
Helga.
mom, Helga. No, she just needs to give you a good back
Okay,
massage.
no, here's what I think. Did you ever see that movie Short with Ben Stiller, Shorts? And it's all the little different short stories in a movie?
No.
Well, in this movie, this man invents this black box and it ruins everybody's life, but he becomes really rich. And you should watch it. It's so funny. But he's like this evil, like business tycoon. And he has a daughter who is awful. Like she is the stereotype of everything you want to hate.
Okay.
And her name is Helvetica. And they say it like that every time they say it. Helvetica. That should be the new name that takes the place of Karen.
Okay. Fair enough. Okay, we're gonna get Phil.
He's burning lunch right now.
He doesn't know that he didn't set a timer for us.
He did, but it ran out.
No, he has this thing in his office
Oh.
that does this.
What if it turned off and we're still talking?
No, girl,
And
we
he
would
didn't
heard it because
catch
it would
any
have.
of this.
It comes through our ears and it's loud and scary and it makes me like jump. I don't like it.
Bill, this is for you.
Well, yes. Okay, so
This
we're
is dedicated to the one we love who edits the podcast.
Yeah. Okay. So that being said, there's a lot of things on social media that we don't like, but there's a lot of things we do, obviously. And we're going to start a petition.
We love you, but not the things you post.
We're going to start a petition to change Karen to what?
Helvetica.
Oh, or Violet. Violet, you're turning violet, Violet. Yeah. Okay. Thank you guys for sticking around for this extra shot. If you do any of those things on Facebook and you are offended, this is a great time for you to practice forgiveness and grace.
You can download our 12-step program for $9.99.
You are loved, and we are so glad you're part of our podcast.
And you
family.
make us laugh.
You make us laugh just thinking about you laughing at us. Have a wonderful day.
Bye.